Corey Ackley, Hammer Steel Performance. Good morning here in January. So, got a question for y'all. What makes more power? What's a better engine? Is it the vaunted 03 to 06 V92 92 cubic inch engine? Is it the 05 to 07 100 cubic inch engine? Or is it a big displacement later model 106? So with that being said, let's have that discussion. Reading across the interwebs, you'll often hear this debate. You know, what's the best victory engine? And you'll hear people talk about the 106, the 100, and the 92. Each of them have their merits. Well, which one makes most power? Which one makes most torque? Which makes most horsepower? And which one is the best to modify and hop up? Well, let's get right into it. Let's not debate this any longer. Let's figure it out right now. Onto the video. Onto the graph. All right. So what we have here is a graph. These are 3 examples of victory platforms: the 92 cubic inch, the 100 cubic inch, and the 106 cubic inch, that are as close to stock as possible based off the library that I had. Each one of these did have some type of victory stage 1 exhaust, whether it was slip-ons or whatever the case may be. But in the case of the 100 cubic inch and the 92 cubic inch, neither one of those had the stage 1 ECU flash, and we can tell on that based off where the rev limiter kicks in on that. So very close to being stock, minus some type of exhaust, stage 1 factory exhaust piece of that. So with that being said, what we have here is in the black is the 92 cubic inch from a 04 V92 TC. In the blue, we have a 07 100 cubic inch engine that was in a jackpot. And then lastly, we have a 2014 106 Vegas comparison. And what you'll see here is not unlike what we saw in the 70s. As emissions tightened up, manufacturers just went to bigger engines to maintain low speed torque to move these big heavy cars that were all over in the late 60s and 70s. And we see the motorcycle industry was not immune to that process as well. So as emissions got tighter, what manufacturers did was increase displacement, and then in the same vein, they also closed up cam timing. So that's why you'll see such a big difference in low speed torque. So here what we have here, if we look at 2,700 RPMs, the V92 is making about 95 foot-pounds of torque. The 100 is making about 100 foot-pounds of torque. And the 106 is making about 105 foot-pounds of torque. So what we see is about a 5 foot-pound of torque change as we stepped up displacement, 6 to 8 cubic inches per step. And that's, so pretty big. And then if we move over into the 3,500 RPM range, we start seeing things sort of transition there. The 106 is still making a lot more mid-range torque, and we see now the V92 and 100 cubic inch, the 92 cubic inch and 100 cubic inch are now looking more similar. Again, cam timing. And then when we get all the way out to peak horsepower, we notice that there is about 1 or 2 horsepower difference in all these bikes when it comes to peak horsepower. And that's just a product, again, of cam timing More cam timing allows a smaller engine to make a little more peak horsepower, while the large displacement, short duration camshafts make a lot more bottom end. So when we look at least from a standpoint of what makes more power stock, there's no replacement for displacement. But there's other things to consider, and we'll talk about those in a minute. All right, so what we also want to be able to talk about is not just the different cubic inches and how the various stock camshaft valve timing affects the power curve, but there's also other factors in there that go as well. So up here, I've put some advantages, disadvantages between the engines, and what I think are the ones that make the most difference is one is obviously the V92 is a 5-speed transmission. And so you don't have an overdrive, and so when you look at doing some cruising or something like that, yeah, it does have an impact to cruise RPM range as well. The biggest thing really is a limited, and this goes both for 100 cubic inch and for the 92. There are limits on ECM tuning options, and so to me, that's the biggest impedance to power production, because yes, we can use a power commander, whether it's a 3 or a 5, to tune air fuel, but we know power is in timing. And so without an option to be able to control ignition timing with the 92 or the 100 cubic inch engine, without, you're limited. Yes, you can send the ECM off to be flashed, but you can't dial it in. And so that takes time on the dyno. If you want to run boost, if you want to run nitrous, you want to run other things in there, you want to be able to dial your timing in, and you're just limited on both the 92 and 100 cubic inch engine. And that's probably the major disadvantages regardless of transmission, regardless of what aftermarket support is going on there on this page. Really, what limits you the most in regards to power production and tuning capabilities is the ability to be able to reflash the ECM to make timing adjustments based off of power production, dyno results, and those other kind of things. And that's the biggest limiter of Power Tuner 2. So those are my opinions that we have. I love I have two 92 cubic inches. One has been bored up to 100. I've also had a 100 cubic inch 07 Hammer S, and obviously I've got multiple 106s. They're all awesome engines. They're all great platforms. But with that being said, you look at that low speed power from a relatively stock bike, and what you see is there's a massive advantage with horsepower, with torque production, low speed. And since our camshafts are all similar camshafts, you're going to see the same results when you put a larger camshaft in on a 92 cubic inch engine. It's going to make good peak horsepower. It's still going to be soft down bottom. That happens to not as much with a 100 cubic inch, and then with the 106, you'll have again a little better low speed power production. So, all right, that's just my thoughts. Hope you all enjoy. All right, there you have it. So who agrees? Who disagrees? Where are my diehard, my 92 cubic inch guys for the win? Where is the folks that live and breathe that the 100 cubic inch 05 to 07 is by far the best engine that Victory ever made? I like them all, but I also, as we talked about before, recognize that all three are solid platforms. But when it looks at how the tuning flexibility that you have, the late model ECM and the aftermarket support, whether it's through DynoJet or Techno Research and Maximus, has the most flexibility for tuning, and therefore it's easier to extract the most power you can out of a particular build with a modern ECM and the ability to tune that ECM. But they're all great engines. And then, you always go with cost. And yeah, you can build a pretty cheap 100 or a pretty cheap 92 based engine and have some money left over as well. So, anyways, hope you all enjoyed it and take care. All right. Bye.